All right, let's get right into it. Today we're looking at how a nation is building a sophisticated, multi-million-dollar machine. But it's not a machine of steel, it's a machine built out of stories. We're talking about how Pakistan is going all in on information warfare, crafting a very specific image for the world while tightening its control at home.
So here's how we're going to break it down. First, we'll define what this new kind of war of stories even is. Then we'll dive into the two sides of the strategy: the polished, friendly face shown to the world, and the iron fist used to control things back home. After that, we'll peek under the hood at the engine driving this whole machine, and we'll wrap up by looking at how its regional rival, India, is being advised to counter all of this.
Okay, so let's kick things off. A war of stories. What does it actually mean? See, this is the key thing to get. We're not just talking about PR or simple spin here. This is being treated as a core part of state strategy. For Pakistan, this means that information is now right up there with diplomacy, the military, and the economy. It's all about controlling perception to achieve very real-world geopolitical goals. So let's start with that first side of the coin. This is the friendly face, right? The slick, modern, and, as we're about to see, very expensive image that Pakistan wants the rest of the world to see.
And a huge part of this is leaning into cutting-edge tech. Get this, in August 2025, a new channel launched called Pakistan Today English News. And its big claim to fame? It was supposedly the world's first fully AI-powered English news channel. Pretty wild. And this is where it gets really clever. The whole channel features AI-generated anchors and reporters. But here's the genius part of the strategy. While the company is Pakistani, its main studio is based in London. So right away, it has this veneer of international credibility. Meanwhile, the AI system is scanning content only from vetted sources, making sure every report aligns perfectly with the state's desired narrative.
And this kind of operation is not cheap. To push its narrative in the halls of power, especially in Washington, D.C., Pakistan's spending on U.S. lobbying shot up to a peak of $600,000 a month in 2025. That is a massive blitz.
So where did all that money go? Well, it funded a very targeted campaign to buy high-level access. You can see they hired different firms for different jobs. One to talk up their mineral wealth, another for straight-up narrative development, and a third just to get in front of U.S. lawmakers. And look at that last one, Javelin Advisors. They were specifically chosen for their ties to the Trump administration. The goal was crystal clear: neutralize Indian influence at the very top.
Okay, so that's the polished story being sold to the world. But a very different reality is playing out inside Pakistan's own borders. Now we flip the coin over and look at the Iron Fist.
And this really lays it out in black and white. On one hand, you have the state-run broadcaster PTV getting a massive 11 billion rupee bailout in 2025 just to keep it running as a mouthpiece. But on the other hand, independent media faces a systematic crackdown. We're talking arrests, travel bans, violence, all while trying to operate under these draconian laws. It's two completely different worlds. The year 2025 really saw things escalate. In January, the PICA law gave the state these sweeping new powers of censorship. Then in May, you see this incredibly cynical move. The social media platform X gets unblocked after being banned for a year. But it wasn't about free speech. It was about weaponizing the platform, letting state-linked accounts push misinformation during a conflict with India. And by August, things got even uglier, with a targeted campaign against female journalists.
And it's so important to remember the human cost here. This isn't just about abstract laws, it's about creating a very real climate of fear. Journalists are getting arrested for their online posts. High-profile critics have been put on no-fly lists. Entire regions like Balochistan have become information black holes. And, maybe most chillingly, this campaign is now stretching beyond Pakistan's borders to silence critics living abroad. So you might be wondering, how is all of this being managed? What's the engine driving this complex, two-faced machine? Well, it's a whole series of new, centralized government bodies.
What these new agencies do is they basically institutionalize narrative warfare. At the very top, you have the National Committee on Narrative Building, and this is the big one. It includes folks from the ISI and the ISPR, the country's powerful military intelligence and public relations wings. This puts them at the very heart of the strategy. Then you have other authorities to regulate social media and tactical units to handle the day-to-day online messaging.
Now, this is where it gets really fascinating, especially when you follow the money. Pakistan's tax to GDP ratio, a key sign of economic health, is just over 9%.
To put that in perspective, that's almost half of India's. So we're talking about a pretty fragile economy here. And yet, despite that, the government is prioritizing massive spending on this narrative project.
And when I say massive, I mean it. The high-end estimate for the cost of a sophisticated, China-like digital firewall to monitor and block online content is a staggering 30 billion rupees. It just shows the immense investment being made, not just in projecting a story, but in controlling the one people hear at home.
Of course, a strategy this aggressive doesn't go unnoticed. So, let's shift gears and look at the geopolitical chessboard. What's the recommended counterplay for India in the face of this new kind of warfare?
The proposed counterplay is all about moving from a reactive to a proactive stance. The framework has a few key parts. Create a unified doctrine for information warfare. Adopt a woodpecker strategy of just consistently highlighting Pakistan's internal issues. Empower the Indian diaspora to act as narrative mascots to counter the lobbying. Establish digital sovereignty with things like a Wikipedia defense desk. And finally, promote India's own soft power through authentic storytelling.
Ultimately, when you step back, this deep dive into Pakistan's information machine is a fascinating preview of a much larger global trend. It shows that future conflicts might be won not just on the battlefield, but in the digital and psychological spheres. And it leaves us with a huge question, doesn't it? In an age where perception can be so expertly manufactured, who really controls the story?